show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Kryptonite Show. Boy, oh boy, we're going to have a fun time today. It's getting a bit colder here in New Zealand. It is currently the 24th of May, and it's a Saturday. It is midday exactly. It is pretty sunny outside, but it is a little cold. So I got my sweater on here, my little laid-back sweater. So it's going to be a lot of fun to wear this and keep me warm. That's all I can say. But yeah, don't forget, get into the chat there and say hello. I mean, it's all about the community at the end of the day. So jump in there and let us know what you're feeling about cryptos and everything else out there. We got Wookie says he's back in the house today. Let's go. Now, you would have played golf, Wookie, which have been pretty cold this morning, I would have thought. But you're back in the house, nice and warm with the fire on. I bet you got the fire on there. Let us know. So big shout out there to Wookie on the spot. We got Hexgrader in the house as well. Woohoo! Let's go, 100%. Big shout out to Hexgrader. He's one of our crew in the Discord. So big shout out to him and Blair as well. Woohoo! Let's go, Blair. Big shout out to you as well. And definitely like and share. And I'm loving those shades. Now, of course, you guys can help big time by sharing the channel around. And so if you're on YouTube, definitely push the share button. If you're on X, of course, repost there on X. And so welcome there. That's all it takes. So just take one moment, go beep, 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 and then it's gone. It's gone to your friends on the X internet, as it were. Get out there, folks, and do that. That'd be really helpful. All right, we're going to got quite the show today. A big question, of course, that people often ask: will PulseChain make you rich? And we're going to look at some of the things that you might need to do to get wealthy on the old PulseChain. We're going to talk about that today. And of course, will it make you rich? I think it will, but you've got to make the right choices even on this bullish chain. So that's going to be a pretty key thing we're going to talk about. The next thing, of course, is we've got 10x, 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. Is it possible to do that on PulseChain? And of course, in the bull market, we're going to discuss that as well. And you're going to definitely have to still make choices, right? Choices about that. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And then ultimately, we're going to be talking about Treasury Secretary Bessent and the Trump administration's policies on economic growth. And of course, you guys know I've been covering that in detail from the beginning with the actually true state of play rather than the fake mainstream media who either don't know what they're talking about or are complete propagandists and also don't know what they're talking about. So it's pretty much it. So we're going to get into that today. And you guys are going to be, I think, enjoy that as well. What else? We've got quite a few other stuff to talking about. We've got lots of stuff. So stay tuned for that as we go through the show. All right, let's get straight into it without further ado. We're going to go through my thread over the last 24 hours just to show you some of the things that we've been talking about on the Kryptonite Show. So let's get into that straight away. Don't forget to get in the chat, smash the follow, smash the subscribe, and share the channel around for sure. All right, let's go. Well, we've got, this viral anime going through from the Heartwood Dog, and that is the old Hog token and Hog character. And, of course, we had a poll on at the moment. I pushed out a reminder about that, so you definitely got to get out to vote for the next influencer, not the existing influencers, but the next influencer in the poll that you might want to vote for. And, of course, we had a cool vote there. It's continuing to go on. It's only got 4 hours left. So you really need to get out and vote for that and see whether you can turn the tide for your favorite influencer or so whatsoever. So definitely check that. So it's Pulse of the Fallen, and that is poll for next influencer character, you decide, and that is the link there in the chat there. So if you want to go vote, definitely do that and share it around, right? That's probably as important as voting sometimes. So get it out. Let's see if we can get even more votes in there on them. So we've got Crypto Coffee, Saint Wolf, Caled on Crypto, and Money Gang Crypto. So 4 very well-known influencers in the PulseChain community. Get out and vote for them. There'll be one of them is going to be the next character in this anime series, which is pretty awesome. So definitely get out to that. The next big thing we had, of course, was the actual post about we've been covering this all week, right? Covering this viral anime, the Pulse of the Fallen, all week. It's got a lot of well-known PulseChain influencers like Somi and Richard Hart and people like that. It's got SJ Wild. I mean, it's really packed full of PulseChain influencers. It's going to have a lot more, of course, because there's only 10 chapters out so far, and there's going to be over 100 of them. So that's going to be pretty huge, right? Over 100 of these episodes or chapters. And of course, we've gone back right to the beginning here to the Genesis chapter, the first chapter. Hogg's early years in this hit anime series, Pulse of the Fallen, sent him on a path that no one could have imagined. And of course, this is the whole stuff. There's 10 chapters to go. Watch now. You do that straight away. Experience Hogg's life in this epic saga from chapters 1 through 10, where our crypto anime hero battles nefarious villains, faces his fears, and of course, unravels thrilling mysteries and makes new PulseChain friends. Ready to dive into this full adventure right along with Hogg and live the PulseChain anime dream. And of course, if you go to the website, which is heartwithdog.com, you will find all these episodes there, either in video form or in comic form. So you can decide which one you want there. And of course, that's only those first chapters, only the first, because it's going to be over 100. Dive into this epic anime journey up to 100 chapters still to come. So it's going to be quite the thing during the bull market. So you're going to have something really cool to read and all the exciting adventures that's going to happen with not just PulseChain influencers, but celebrities. And of course, the main character is Hogg, right? The main character is Hogg. Watch Hogg, Richard Hart, PulseChain influencers, star-studded celebrities. Enjoy their characters, but unbelievable arcs. And of course, this anime series is just crazy with the turns and twists and turns. It is unbelievable, and you'll know very quickly in the first few episodes. Man, these things. This is a crazy. You will not be able to predict where it's going to be going. That's for sure. Wonderful surprises and some shocking upsets in this anime grand saga. And I want to talk about those upsets because you will be shocked at some of the upsets. And of course, it doesn't mean just because you got PulseChain influencers characters in there doesn't mean that they're going to be okay. It doesn't mean they're going to be okay, right? So you got to definitely check that out. And of course, we've got the first very episode there plugged into the post. So definitely got to check that out. And that, of course, is Hogg, the main character, as a young man, and or whatever he's got with his ears. You decide. But he is pretty young there, and off he goes. So that is the first one there. I'm going to post a copy to that in the chat there as well. Check it out. The viral anime series, Pulse of the Fallen. And, of course, that's going to be following us through the bull market ahead. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see that. So Pulse of the Fallen, and that is chapter 1, Genesis. And, of course, don't forget to watch the series and, of course, share it around. And, of course, big shout out to the team there from Heartwood Dog. They got a lot more to come for sure. All right, so there we go. Maybe wonder which influencer is going to end up winning that, right? That's the key. Wonder which one's going to be winning that. All right, so let's jump back out here and move up to what else we've been talking about. Now, you know what? On 22nd of May, I said Secret Shield. Want to make super mad gains? Almost no one knows, but there is not one. And I repeat, not one, but two. Yes, I said 2 magic cart rides on PulseChain. Who else has ever said that? That is me, first of all. You know how conservative I am. So, the fact that I'm saying it, that's quite something, I think. And there is more. You want to find out, you join the Kryptonite Show Strategy Club now, $35 a month. And I just dropped some alpha overnight. So you definitely want to join up to that today. I just dropped the biggest exclusive alpha PulseChain has ever had in the Kryptonite Show Strategy Club. And, of course, I'm going to be doing a session in about just under 3 hours' time in the Strategy Club. You do not want to miss that. That is a big alpha drop overnight. And, of course, I'm going to be talking about that alpha drop in the strategy session in a couple hours' time. So if you want to join up, you know what to do. Join the Strategy Club. The link is in the video description. And, it's $35 a month to join the Strategy Club. But, man, you've never seen such good value that you'll be getting out of the session. It is unbelievable. Some strategy clubs are thousands, and they will not give you the alpha that I just dropped in that chat today. So you definitely got to check it out. It is going to be mega. The magic carpet ride on the magic carpet ride, OMG. Yeah, that's all I can say. So people can do with that information what they will. But that is some of the alpha that we're dropping in there, and it is as big as it's ever going to be on PulseChain. It is as big as ever it's going to be. So I think that's pretty exciting. Get in there. It is crazy, crazy good. All right, so that is pretty much it. I'm going to leave the link is to the Strategy Club is in the video description. Only $35 a month to join up for that, and we're ramping up the content there. Now, of course, we're talking about today, will PulseChain make you rich? 10x, 100x, 1000x, 10,000x? Well, it is going to depend on what you choose. So get out there as well. So that's pretty much the highlights of what we covered today. So it's pretty exciting. Now we do have the next monster thread coming up on a Sunday/Monday for week 3. So if you're a team out there, you're wanting to get included in that, either hit MVS up, Crypt MVS, our promotional lead with the Kryptonite Show, or myself head up there as well. So we've got some new content coming soon. So that is coming up as well. We're going to be having some new X spaces and Telegram spaces. That's going to be a new format that we're moving into, as well as a big thing coming up. I don't want to talk about it too much, so since I haven't said anything about it. So that's coming up as well. So get on board. You want to get out there. You want to get promoted. Of course, the Kryptonite Show doing the first professional promotions on PulseChain. So it's going to be pretty exciting. And of course, we've got networks that no one else has got. So you definitely want to get access to that. That's for sure. And a big shout out to Brendan in the chat there. Nice alpha. Hey, look, we try. People can listen. And of course, they decide what they want to do. All right. So Wall Street falls as Trump tariff threats sparks market uncertainty. Obviously, the tariffs are still moving through with different areas. Europe was always going to be trouble. And of course, China was always going to be trouble. But everywhere else in the world's pretty much lined up to do a deal, right? So that's pretty much where we are on that. Excuse me, I think I was going to, sneeze or something. We got, I said it was cold here. We got Dow Jones at the moment is down 0.2% or 0.6%. Oh, I hope not sneeze or something. 256 points to 41,603. And the S&P 500 is down 0.2%, 39 points to 5,800. And the Nasdaq, with all the tech companies in it, is down 1% at 188,000. 188 points there, not 188,000. 188 points to 18,737. So there we go. The markets are down a little bit today on some more tariff stuff, which is not surprising, right? So US stocks fell on Friday, notching a weekly loss. President Trump recommended 50% tariffs on European goods, reopening a new front on global trade tensions, and unleashing a fresh wave of market uncertainty. As you guys know, the European Union has been a big problem to other countries around the world because it's put up big, barriers, non-trade barriers in particular, against other nations. New Zealand, the country I was in particular, fell victim to that in the 60s and 70s. And so, yeah, they've done that. It's been pretty hardcore. It's a good thing that Trump's putting pressure on them. We also know that they're full of authoritarian narcissists and globalists in there, and Marxists. I mean, it's a real concoction of little baddies, a group of little baddies. It's going to be good that Trump's putting pressure on them for sure, both on many fronts, of course. All three main Wall Street indexes pared early losses, but each still ended lower and shed more than 2% for the week. Technology, communication services, and consumer discretionary stocks were the biggest losers of the S&P 500. 11 subsectors: utilities, consumer staples, and energy stocks gained. So that is the play there at the moment. So we're going to be seeing where that all heads. But I've got some cool stuff around Secretary Bessent. So that's going to be very much an eye opener. We're going to talk about that at the end of the stream. That's at the stream, because I don't want to interrupt the flow of our normal market update. And of course, our topic today is, will PulseChain make you rich? But I think the stream, the additional stream covering Secretary Bessent is going to open up a lot of your eyes to it if you're not informed already. And of course, stuff I've been saying for months and months and months. So you're going to really enjoy that. If you want the ultimate, alpha on the geopolitics and economic policy, that is the key. All right, so that's where we are on the stock market. Let's go quickly to commodities. We got West Texas at $61, up 0.5%. Brent oil at $65, up 0.5%. Gold at the moment, $3,365, up 2% on gold. So gold benefiting there a lot with the risk off, I guess. And the silver there up over 1% as well, 39 cents to $33.60. Silver, I think, is going to have a sudden breakout at some stage. So that's what we're going to be looking forward to soon. Wookie said it was a cold start to the day today. All right, I bet you it was. He gets up really early for the golf. Wouldn't be surprised at all. All right, let's jump over to the crypto markets. And at the moment, we've got some pretty interesting things happening. We've got the market down 4.3%, obviously after some pretty big moves for Bitcoin. And of course, here we are at $3.51 there, just being tapered off with the old tariff issue there with the European Union. That is $3.50. Now we're talking about this tariff stuff with Trump, 50% tariffs on food with Trump for Europe, but also today we saw Trump signing in fundamental stuff, and I might leave that to the end actually. So just hold on to your hats for that, because Trump was doing some pretty fundamentally important things today, and I will talk about that at the end. So stay tuned for that. So we got Bitcoin at the moment, 108,000 US dollars, down 3.9% for 24 hours. Ethereum number 2 is down 5% at $2,542. And then we've got XRP at number 4, down 5.3% at $2.33. Number 5 is BNB, down 4% at $660. Solana down 2.9% at $176. The Dogecoin is down 8%. Can you believe it? 8.2% at 23 cents. ADA or Cardano there is down 5.7% at 76 cents. And finally, number 10 is Tron, down 2% at 27 cents there. Those are our top 10 at the moment. They're all down. On the best performer of the week so far is still Bitcoin, up 4.2%, and then followed by a Solana up 4%, probably going to be a beneficiary of the Su chain, or Sui chain, as some people call it. And of course, with the old CTEX, or the Celtex hack, I think it was. So yeah, that is a big issue there. And of course, the person around that has not given the money back, as you can imagine. And so they have put a $5 million bounty on their head. So let's see what happens with that. If you're good at tracking people down, maybe that might work. Get $5 million for those leads. So they want a name and a location and some proof of it. That's pretty much it. All right, so that's on for SuChain, trying to track down the big hacker there. Now, the other best performer was BNB and Dogecoin there, both up 2.3% for a week. So still a little bit of gain over the last week there for some of the majors. Now, looking at the top 100, the best performers, Hyperliquid being a top performer for quite a bit. It's at number 14, is up 24% for the week at $34. So it's been a very good, strong performer there. And we might do a lot more coverage on Hyperliquid because it has been, such a good performer there. WorldCoin, I should say, WorldCoin is up 23% as well. At number 62, and the smelly one in the room is Fartcoin. That is up 21.5% at number 78. And honorable mention to Monero, right? That's up there 18% as well, and Curve DAO at 15.6%. Let me know. I think people still mining Monero. I guess they are. Let me know in the chat there about that. I haven't really been following it too much, so let me know if that's happening there as well. All right, so not bad. All right, so that is the play there. Let's jump over to the top gainers, and we got Space Nation. Space Nation. I haven't even looked at that one, but it's up 96%. Might want to check that out. BC Gamecoin, I've seen that around before. That's up 62%. And Covalent X is down 24%, but it seems to be top gainers for some reason. Obviously, taking a bit of profit maybe. Trending is Concordium, Virtuals Protocol, which we've seen many times in Hyperliquid as well. They're trending at the moment. But let's have a quick look at the Space Nation, see where it's ranked actually. It's got my, triggered my interest there, 878. And it's definitely having a tier at the moment, isn't it? Down at 3 cents and now up at 7.5 cents. Pretty interesting. I wonder what it's all about. Space Nation Online. And OIK tokens can be traded on centralized exchanges as well. Let's have a quick look. Building a sustainable Web3 gaming future. Wow, that does look good. For those that love playing even that, my goodness. Wow, this does look good. Okay, all right. Download as well. All right. So, wow, for the gamers out there, man, oh man, that does. I love space, so you can probably tell that. But man, that does look good. We're gonna have to check this out. All right, so I'm gonna save that. I'm not actually gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna have a look at that after the live stream. That is pretty cool. I might really get into that. I love space games. So there we go. So if you play EVE Online, I got a little frustrated with EVE Online because of certain blockades. Once you get out to the outer rims where you get up to the real dangerous stuff, I had some capital ships. And hey, look, it might have been saving me from being destroyed, but I wanted to take my capital ship out beyond the no man's land. And of course, they won't let you do it, which is, I don't know if they do that now, but they certainly, the last time I tried, take my capital ship. I mean, it was fairly well armed as well. I mean, it wasn't like full on armed, like 100%, but I would say it was probably at 70, 80% armed. And I thought, man, I can take on some decent things. But sometimes there's crews out there, right? They wait and they hunt for you. Come in with a capital ship. A capital ship's like a really big ship, like a battleship or something. You come with the capital ship, and of course they're actually harder to get in some ways. Like the ones I've got, they're quite hard because I got them from back in the day. And so I don't really want to lose it because it's expensive. But I pop in. I had this smaller ship, and I popped into this little asteroid belt. Before I know it, there's like pirates coming in. Go, they're all organized crew, right? All coming in and go. They're all trying to hunt me down. And fortunately, I managed to escape. But I got like, I don't know, like 80% damage or something. It was pretty close to being destroyed. But I ended up being able to escape there. It was pretty crazy. And the worst thing they use on you is digital jammers, right? Digital jammers, and you see these little waves coming at you. Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, this one here looks pretty good. So we're going to have to definitely check that out. Hedgehog says, "Is this a gaming channel now?" No, it's just a highlight about some of the cool stuff. But we're going to definitely check out that Space Nation. But it is up 95% today at 6.5 cents. So we'll check that out. Now this gaming, right? So it's pretty risky, but that is Space Nation, Okios there. So we'll definitely check that out. Now we got the bubbles. I bring the bubbles back. Haven't had the bubbles for ages, right? So sometimes a lot of people, influencers particularly, use bubbles all the time. I like to bring it every so often, and we can definitely see over the last year some of the best performers. We've got Virtual, which we're going to talk about a bit moving forward. We got SPX there, XRP, BGB there, and PulseChain there. Obviously, after the exploit, still up 238% on a year ago. We'll see how long that holds up for, I guess. Last month there, let's see what some of the big everything's pretty much green over last month. Virtual, WIF, and I said to you, was it yesterday, day before, and I think last week, said WIF is starting to march up the top 100. It's like number 98 or something. So that might definitely be something you want to pick up, because it does be showing some real strength there. So WIF could be part of your sort of meme blue chip portfolio, let's say. And we've got Pingu up as well, SPX, Hype as well. And we're going to be talking about Hype too, right? That's Hyperliquid's been doing very well, up 18%. And of course, in the bull market, those things are going to run, right? Those things are probably going to run pretty hard. Wild Token and Pepe there, Pepe and WIF. You probably want to have a bit of that in your bag, as well as Dodge. Part of these sort of meme, super meme coins, as we say. Last week, let's have a see. Yeah, we're getting a bit of a mixed bag in the last week. We got Fat Coin up there, SEC, XAMR. So definitely a good way of looking at some of these. Last day, of course, pretty red in the market overall. So those are some of the selected ones on here. All right, so that is the crypto bubbles. If you guys haven't seen that before, for some of the new people around, I'll post that link in the chat there. You guys can check it out. I got him, boss. I got him. Yeah, you got a hedgehog. Yeah, we got that's the crypto bubbles. So check that out. Bang, bang, bang. All right, so let's move on and let's get into some of the cool things there. Now, you guys know Richard Hart bet the SEC, right? And he's got here, this is Sunny Decree. Now, Sunny Decree is got 104,000 followers. He's a Bitcoin investor, analyst, and best-selling author. So he's really a Bitcoiner, probably Bitcoin maxi. And of course, he came out quite late, but sometimes it takes it can take months for the news about Richard Hart beating the SEC gets out to everybody. And he says, I have absolutely no idea how he did it. I have absolutely no how he did it, but Richard Hart actually won against the SEC in court. Yeah, because people don't do that, right? People don't beat the SEC. Either do a settlement, even the big corporates, right? But Richard Hart bet the SEC again and again. So smash, smash, bang there. So that was pretty cool. I'm going to repost that. That is pretty awesome. Richard Hart is what is out for glory. Is out for glory. Let's do that. All right, so that's pretty cool. And let's place. What are we going to do? PulseChain. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do it. All right, so kind of cool. That is the mark there. Richard Hart's is out for glory. It's a bit slang, but we'll get there. We'll get there in the end. So that was pretty cool news. There, people are starting to see outside the PulseChain circle. All about the SEC PulseChain. So things are ramping up, guys. Things to have patience. That's all. PulseChain forked Ethereum on the 10th of May, 2023. Went live on the 13th of May, 2023. And now it's 742 days later. I always say this because always, new people coming along need to have a bit of context about PulseChain. And of course, we got the total price at the moment of PulseChain at quadruple 0395, down 4.3%. So we have gone below that key support and resistance line of 4,200. So that is a bit of a negative. It doesn't mean that we're going down necessarily, but we definitely didn't hold that level. So we're facing a bit of resistance there. So we might have to bang up against it a little bit now before we get into that next wave that we're hoping for once we've got over 4,200. So here we are, 39% of the mean sacrifice price. PulseX at the moment, quadruple 0358, down 6.4%. We have got this very thin liquidity. I can't keep reminding you about that. So that means that we are going to be able to move a lot with the percentages on the old PulseChain a lot as well. But when we do get that mega uptrend, those parabolics starting, it's going to be ruthless to the upside, just like it was down to the downside. So quadruple 0358 at the moment. The buy and burn 1.41 trillion PulseX has been bought up and burned 7.15% of the total supply is gone burger forever. And Sam token $1.77 down 3.77%. The supply inflation, of course, really low now, 2,600 ink per day. Hex at the moment, 8,300 of a penny. EX at 2,400 of a penny. Combined price, EXP and PX still over 1 cent, just below 1.1 cent down. PX down 6.5% at the moment. And of course, what does this mean? Just more opportunity to accumulate before we get the big moves happening. All right, so what else there? Gas prices, 1.5 million bits at the moment, so not too bad. 2 cents for a PulseX swap. Validators have been climbing, which is a good sign. 46,642, so maybe just a little bit higher than yesterday. Pretty similar numbers. And then finally, the bridge. What everyone's talking about is the bridge, and of course, it's at 94.8, 94.9 million. And we were sitting around a couple of days around 96, 97 million. We come down a little bit from there, obviously, with the market pulling back a bit on ETH and Bitcoin and other stuff. But the DAI is holding up pretty well, 22.4 million. And the one we should be looking at here, and I'm going to take a snapshot of this, is the USDC. And don't ask me why. Why should we be looking at USDC? You guys let me know in the chat. Why do you think we're going to start tracking USDC now? Because I think it's pretty important. You let me know in the chat why you think that is. Let's see who's clued into what's happening on the chain right now. This is a bit of a fun test. It's a bit of a fun game, but it matters, right? It matters now. So yeah, if you're not in our strategy club today, in a couple of hours' time, you're going to hear the biggest alpha you've ever heard on the PulseChain. There's nothing bigger. This dwarfs every other big narrative out there on PulseChain right now. No matter who's talking about it, you're going to get the secret sauce in the strategy club. So join up today. All right. So that is where we are. So let's see where that goes. I'm expecting some huge things for this moving forward, even more bullish than I have been for a long time. I was very excited about moving up to the 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. But look, I think we're going to go way, way higher. So join up today. There, thanks, Brian, for that. Join the Discord here. Big shout out on that one. So kind of cool. Only $35 a month to join Strategy Club. Well worth it. Believe me. Believe me there. And of course, it's going to be. You're gonna thank yourself later on. All right. So let's get into it. That is where we are on PulseChain. Let's have a look at the volumes. 33.6 million. So a big jump in volumes today. Pretty exciting to see that. And we were sitting, in the 20s, so being up 33.6. We do have some green charts here. Now, we got this USD1 coin, World Liberty. I understand this is a scam coin. I haven't checked behind the details. I just saw, I think, Jim Rat Crypto talking about it. So I haven't checked it myself. So, just be very, very careful here. Is it one of these ones where you can buy and never sell? So just be cautious there. We're going to have a quick look at see what the quick intel says. It says there's no issues on it, but I'd be very careful. Ownership is renounced, unknown. So definitely make sure you check out that. Be very careful with this USD1 here. I know it's up 11,600%. Liquidity, volume 162 over 27, but very, very cautious about that. We cover this stuff every day. The top ranking ones, we get new coins every day, but you do need to do due diligence. Don't just ape in to everything that looks like it's pumping and think you're going to catch part of that move. Sometimes you catch the top often, right? Because you see it too late. This has been out for 13 hours, so it's already been out there for quite a bit. You can already see the chart there pulling back. But if there's problems with not being able to sell, like a honey pot or something, could be a big problem, which probably brings us to Midgard, right? Midgard is very cool. They have a big announcement today of a new update, so we're going to talk about that briefly. So Midgard gets a major update. Faster homepage, blocks transactions, new bridge monitor, real-time analytics. Woo! That's going to become a staple of the show. Import, export settings, bug fixtures, API first, and RPC fallback. So huge news there from the team. So I'm going to post that out too. Huge congrats to the team. Loving that bridge update and pretty awesome. So that is kind of neat. Let's spell properly is probably the first thing. Otherwise, I might not get back into Harvard, right? Not get back into Harvard. Not that I was in Harvard, but if they saw me spelling on here, I'd probably never get in. Although apparently, if I was in their their diversity inclusion, I could get in. I'd just go, "Hey man, what's up, man? I wanted to join. All right, so there we go. We got huge congrats to the team. Loving the bridge update. That is cool. And of course, PulseChain. We always put the PulseChain tag, right? Because we're non-stop promoting PulseChain, right? Non-stop promoting PulseChain. If you're doing X posts out there, and if they're relevant to this area, definitely put the PulseChain, the Pulse ticker. It's all, everybody makes a play here. Everybody is important in terms of spreading the word there. So kind of cool. Now we're going to go and check that out actually on the old Midgard. It's got the blog there that you can get to. So we're going to check that out. But that is kind of cool. All right, so big deal. That's one of our 2 new block explorers, if you guys remember. Let's have a look at the blog while we're here. Wasn't going to do that straight away, but hey, look, Brian says Strategy Club rocks. It does. You guys do not want to miss the Strategy Club, honestly. It's the biggest thing you've ever seen on PulseChain. It's a big deal. And, I did a big drop overnight, and we're going to have a chat in about 2.5 hours. So you want to be a part of that. What's good, Superman? Hey, Mr. Onazuki, Azuka, big shout out to you. And now Mr. Onazuka is just incredible artist, and we do appreciate you big time, man. And, of course, he's crushing it out there. So big shout out to you. Awesome work. All right. So, yeah, they got the big upgrade there. You can go through it all. Data management, latest blocks, latest transactions. I love this post. This blog is really full on. Bridge monitor, have a fresh look. So it's pretty cool. We're going to check that out. And, of course, the token verification is massive. You do not want to miss that, right? That is huge. Let me just zoom in. I'm assuming the wrong thing here. Let me zoom up on that so you guys can see the full thing. So I can keep going. I can get going. All right, so that is the full one there. You can see that token verification is so important. If you have a worry about a token, this is your first line of defense. Just pop the token in here and let the AI run the analysis, and it'll give you a great breakdown of all the functions in the contract and stuff like that. So it's your first line of defense. A lot of the line of defense is the Pulse Police. And, of course, that helps a lot of people that aren't coders, don't know what they're looking at. So that is pretty important. And, of course, this is big news, this bridge thing. Wow, that is awesome, bridge contract. So let's have a quick look, see whether we can pull that up, actually, on the old Midgard. I haven't got that open right now, but let me bridge up. I think this is the one, Midgard. Yeah, so let's bring that up. Let's have a look at that. And we may have it on, what's it on the bridge here? Let's have a look here. Navigation unknown. I'm not sure what that one is, actually. Navigation tools. But we might have it here somewhere. Let me see. Is it actually been rolled out? Let me have a look. Monitor. Okay, maybe it's on a different site. Let's have a look. It's a link actually there. I should probably just hit that. That was easy enough. And cross-chain bridge monitor. OMG. I think we might be covering this every day now from now on. So big shout out to Midgard. Great team. And yeah, wow. That is cool. That is cool. So it's got all the stuff coming over. We're going to talk about that. So, DAI and everything. PulseChain. PulseChain active tokens 5, Ethereum 4, cross-chain and bridge activity right now. Kind of cool. All right, so we're going to break that more verified token verification as well. Neat. Live bridge analytics. All right, so we're gonna cover that too moving forward. All right, so pretty cool stuff happening there. Big shout out to Midgard. And of course, some of the other tokens at the moment, Orange Man Good. I guess is this from the Tang Gang? Orange Man Good. That's been around for 1 year, over 1 year, 67% up at the moment. Reserve Tape been around for 3 months. That's making a big move today versus Tropa, Treasury Bill, FedEx, and Pulse up about 40% at the moment. Not sure what news is going on there, but they're definitely up quite strong on this numbers. I'm just having a look at the biggest liquidity. Let's go to this one. And we can see that, yeah, they had a big pump only hours ago. In fact, what's that? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's about 7-8 hours ago. So that's a big pump. And so that's moving pretty hard. Trump, the pump tires is going up. That's up 16%. Dominance, one of the OG WebChef tokens, up 13.6%. Up token there on one of Haunted, I think, on the back of Pulse. That's up 10% there. Your Mum, been around for 16 days. That's up 8.8%. Go Pulse, of course, is up 7%. And what else there? Soil, Sun and Minimal is at 12.6%, up 3.8%. Having a little bit of a couple of 2 large sellers, basically, so far. There are a lot of holders in Soul, Sun and Minimal, and some of them are, very large holders. And you kind of at the beginning of something big. So, but had a couple, 2 big sellers, basically, that have capped that chart for the time being after it's run to 15 cents. It ran from 2.8 to 15 cents, and it's had a couple of big sellers selling in about $160,000 out of that pool, but liquidity is still pretty big at 1.3 million. So we'll keep a lookout for that. Ink Dollar there, the liquidity fork from Fast Abdul is pretty much flat today, and those are pretty much the ones in the green on the default view here on Deck Screen at the moment. So that's kind of the mark. We got Beast token here from OG Web Chef. That's at $1.47. That is, recovered to some degree. We'll see whether it can break higher still. And of course, that's volume is $150,000 pretty much. So that's probably earning, I don't know what's the yield on at the moment, 0.5%. I don't know, somewhere in that ballpark maybe. That is kind of the play there. Everything else is pretty much in the sell-off zone. And of course, we've got a lot of our favorite tokens down here that are in the negative today. So there's a lot of opportunities to pick up some of your favorites. That's pretty much, I guess, the lesson today. There is some of your favorites there. We've got X Game, for example, which is going to be a big deal. Probably in a few weeks, that could be completely flipped around, right? There's things like that. So just keep a lookout for some of your favorites. Teddy Bear is another one from the big followers following Teddy Bear, right? Like Moon King, Ian Finici. I can't remember his full. What's it name? Ian something. I can't remember his full name, but they did a big live stream on that. So yeah, that is going to be fun to see that play out. There is a few little green opportunities there today, and of course we're looking forward to getting the uptrend back on again. Maybe we'll get some movement on the weekend. We shall see. Now that leaves us into some comments. Before we get that, we're going to go Titanex, and then we're going to get into the big news from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. There we got Brian there giving out 5 gifts. You did that with me without even looking, Brian. I wasn't even looking at the chat at the time. So big shout out to Brian, our community leader, along with Wookie. Big shout out there. Jeffrey Ramsey got a membership. Congratulations to you. Richie Robinson. Hey, Richie. Hope you're doing well. And John Gibbons as well got a membership. Well done to you. And Moondog. Big shout out to Moondog out there, also getting a membership. I've got a few mafia businesses out on the marketplace at the moment, Moondog. Keep a lookout for those. They'll be on at different prices, so check those out. We got Hex on Eric. What's that? Hex on Eric. Hex on Eric was gifted a membership as well. Big shout out there, Hex on Eric as well. Welcome to the chat and congratulations on those memberships. Big shout out to you, Brian, ultimately, giving those out. That's for sure. What's the Midgard website, says Tomboss? Well, let me pull that up and post it in the chat then. You can, man, it is really good, full of tools, Tomboss, and they're adding more cool stuff all the time. And this is one of our premier type of explorers there. So that is the link to Midgards. Everybody should save Midgard to your favorites. We've probably got about 5 or 6 good explorers now. So they can use. They're all slightly different. Some of them are richer than others. Like Midgard's pretty rich with features. So definitely check that out. And they've got an AI checker for tokens. That's got to be a real asset to a lot of people. Gerardo recently launched one too, right? Explorer. So you can check that out. In fact, we might do a Explorer show where we actually go through the features. How about we do that? It's going to be coming up. All right, so there we go. OMG was dev by Big Brain. Big Brain. OMG. All right, so kind of cool. Let's do some of this as well. We're going to get into Titanex quickly, and then we're going to get into the Trump's administration economic policy. And of course, this is going to give you all the alpha. You will be highly informed watching this. So it's going to be pretty cool. All right, where we go? Going back to X Hub, X Titan Hub, I should say. All right. This is a really good opportunity on Titanex right now. You've got a pullback on here after that big little rally. Of course, we didn't get the breakout to the uptrend, but now you've got another opportunity to pick up the stuff because you've got to remember Titanex has got a buy and burn on about 5 or 6 pulls that are quite large, particularly the top 4, Titanex, DragonX, Hyper, and Hydra. All the buy and burns are turned off. So they've got this big asset collateral that actually can be activated into a buy and burn. And it's only going to be really turned on when we start getting this uptrend in the market that we're looking for altcoin season, right? So that's kind of the play. We also know that Omni-Chain from Jake Sharp's going to be playing out. We know that Eric from DragonX is doing a lot of things as well with protocols and his kind of his version of a strategy club. Just forget what it's called now. And of course, we've also got a lot of things happening with some of the top teams like the Dude with Helios, Stevie D with Vault, and of course, Ali and others, Crypto Utah for Inferno. So some of the leading teams out there doing a lot of cool stuff, as well as Brandon, which we're hopefully going to be interviewing soon, Morpheus. We're trying to queue up an interview with Brandon from Morpheus. So you're going to hear about his decks as well. I think it's what's called Switch as well. So we're going to hear about that. So lots of opportunities here right now to pick up a lot at the bottom of the market. So let's quick look at Titanex at the chart. Now you guys know that really what we're interested in is not so much the US product price. Obviously, if you're coming in with fiat, that matters. But if you're talking about picking it up versus ETH. It is currently off the bottom, right? We're still at the bottom, so we were down at 1150. We had a rally all the way to 3,000. We've now been sold down to 1954. Now, there was a big whale seller from DragonX, right? So that's really the mix there. So we'll talk about that. Just takes one whale, right, to send it down. You know, they do it all the time. We saw that with the Sun Mini Meal, right, with the chart getting up to 15 cents, and then we see two big, large holders come and sell down some of their bags, right? And so just some of their bags too. So here we are on the ratio. So the ratio has gone right back to the beginning. So we were back pretty much, well, virtually back to the beginning, yeah. So we were at 10.07200. We're back at, we have already touched that level pretty much, and we're currently at 7,600 with 10 zeros. So a wonderful place to accumulate Titanx right now. I cannot tell you, you will thank yourself later on. It doesn't look like it now, but it never does when you're buying the bottom, right? When you're buying the bottom, you go, oh my God, I'm buying the bottom. Is it going to get down further? Well, actually, I think this thing is going to be done absolutely unbelievable in the bull market. So you definitely want to do that. Now, you might think the timing's not quite right. Maybe we've got another month at the bottom, another 2 months. That might be the case. But if we do get this pivot with these big trade deals and everything set up by the 4th of July, then it could be game on early. Otherwise, some people might decide, hey, look, maybe the bull market's really going to take off a bit later. Maybe it's going to be like September, October, which is, we've seen that happen before. It might take off there. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely a wonderful zone to accumulate Titanx. And of course, if we go to the Titanx site, we can actually see the buy and burn, pretty much a buy and burn down, let's call it, and go to V1, right? So going down here, buy and burn, and into V1, we can see that there's $11.3 million of Ethereum in there, 4,452. We do know that, Eric and I think the dude from Helios, they've also got their DAOs, right, in there. So let's go really look at those. Let's have a look at the moon math here for the DragonX. And we're going to go to I think that's on the DAO list, is it? Let's see here. I think it might be on the DAO here. They've got 463 ETH balance on one side. This is Titanx buy and stake balance. And then they've got 463 ETH here on the DragonX buy and burn balance as well, which brings us back to the fact that DragonX and Helios are both the two biggest stakers pretty much on the Titanx, right? And so we're just talking about the buy and burn here, but actually there's staker rewards as well, right? We go to payouts, which is just above the buy and burn, and we can see that the 888 day is coming, right? 888 day. It is already well along the way. At 64%, 2/3 along is the old 888 day. It used to feel like a long way away. Now it's 2/3 along there. So we're in the home run now. And it's got $2.8 million worth of ETH, 1,111. So that is additional ETH there. So it is some crazy amount in here. And of course, with the DragonX, and then along with Helios, let's have a quick look at Helios as well. We did have the dude on the show the other day. And let's have a quick look at that. I think it's under governance. I think it might be, or treasury, one of the two. Let's go to treasury. And let's see what ETH is in here. So they've got 42,000 ETH in here, but they've got the staker payout, right? Future estimated payouts. So 62 ETH being estimated payouts coming up. That is 158,000. And of course, Titanx, they've got a Titanx stake for that as well. So yeah, they're going to do pretty well. 62.5 ETH coming out for that as well. So I think these guys are going to get themselves in that ETH strategic reserve, along with all this ETH that's sitting in there, Helios, DragonX, etc. But also, there's not just those, right? There's Hyper and Hydra. So let's have a quick look at that. While we're doing it, we might as well do the whole lot, do the whole family. The whole band is back, as we say. And let's look at the buy and burn balance. Let's go for that. So the Hyper buy and burn, $313,000. Remember that you've got to compare that to the supply. So $313,000, which is 1.6 billion Titanx, trillion Titanx, 1.6 trillion Titanx. And that is versus the supply, right? That's what we want to look at. So 313. So we've got liquid there, $1.8 million worth of liquid supply. So it's a pretty good extra buy and burn. Of course, remember, this is a third layer pretty much on top of, or second layer on top of Titanx, right? Second layer, just like DragonX. Then we have Hydra, which is like a third layer. It's on top of DragonX, which is on top of Titanx, which is on top of Ethereum. And that also has its own buy and burn as well. Let's quickly look at that. So the stat supply shows you that there is $1.6 million of Hydra, 7.3 trillion Hydra there. And the buy and burn balance is 1 million. So it's even better, right? So 1 million with 385 billion DragonX sitting in there. So $1 million, and the liquid supply there's at 1.6 million. So whoa, get ready to rumble. And of course, this is a third layer, right? There's a third layer. So you got the buy and burn for V1 for Titanx, then you got the buy and burn and the ETH payouts for DragonX, and then you got the Hydra above that. So you get my point. It could be pretty awesome stuff there. Down today, of course, but could be a really nice move there for sure. So some pretty cool stuff. Now, the big stuff I want to talk about, we're going to zoom right down. There's lots of things happening, of course, but we're going to zoom down and focus on Taurus, right, from Cryptographics. And we had an update today, so that's why we're going to talk about that, Taurus from Cryptographics. Now, I'm going to post the link here to Titanx Hub if you guys want to check it. Remember, you're pretty much buying the bottom of the market here. And, of course, what you do in markets, you buy the bottom and you sell at the top, right? Just remember that. That's a basic rule, but it's one we have to remind all ourselves of every day. Doesn't matter who you are. You buy the bottom and you sell the top. So how do you stop buying the top? You look at the RSI, right? The RSI is your friend, and that's kind of the minimum thing you should be looking at there. All right, so let's jump over to the Cryptographics, and he had a big news out today. Of course, I interviewed him like last week. Fantastic interview with Cryptographics. Audit 2 has been completed, and I want to share a paragraph from the audit teams about the Taurus wind build, highlighting the quality of craftsmanship by the Taurus team for the smart contracts. You'll see these below. The Taurus project stands out for its exceptional security and reliability, a testament to the development team's skill and dedication to excellence. The contracts are thoughtfully designed and, of course, featuring strong access controls, secure financial logic, and seamless integration with external systems. The team's commitment to quality is further evidenced by the comprehensive test suite, which played a crucial role in validating the system's robustness, while minor enhancements such as refining calculation precision and expanding event emissions for greater transparency were recommended. These do not overshadow the overall project's excellent. The Taurus project is primed for deployment, boasting a fortified security framework and design that inspires confidence. The Age Taurus is here, and you don't have enough Titanx. Join below. Now, some people are talking about this could take in 10 trillion Titanx or more. That would be a major deal. Remember, there's circulating supply is about 98 trillion. There's about 66 trillion, I think, in circulation. So, anything that takes like 10 trillion or more off the market is a big deal. And so this is coming very soon for Cryptographics, and we've only heard good things about this. So pretty exciting. If you guys want to check it out, that is the next big thing. Now, what is the key thing about Taurus is that it's trying to solve the big holy grail problem around ROI protocols and tokenomics, and that is, how do you get sustained buying and sustained money flowing through the ecosystem? And that's kind of what this is tried to attempt to address. So definitely check out the video on that. And that is the latest update there for Taurus there. So I'm going to post that in the chat there as well. You can definitely check that out. Bam, let's go. Let us check that out. So there we go. That is the Taurus update there from Cryptographics. Of course, he's a crossover influencer like myself, and covers both PulseChain and Titanx and multi-chain stuff. But he's expanded even further. He's gone next level with the founder and development. And boy, this thing does look hot. It does look hot. So yeah. All right, we've got a couple of comments in chat now. Did someone else say Rumble, says Brian? Yeah, we'll talk about that later, Brian. We'll talk about that later. Hey, we got Crypto Stylist in the house there. Good morning. Hey, big hugs out to you there, Crypto Stylist. I'm a big fan. Crypto Stylist, if you guys know her, she's amazing. So big shout out there. Great to have you in the chat today. And we also got Marcelo, a Troba baby. Yeah. Well, that's been on the move, isn't it? Been on the move. In fact, Moon King, I think that we're talking about the old beer token, weren't they? And liquidity. So I don't know what you think of that, Marco, but that is out there too. I just see that earlier today with Ian Heinisch. Is it Heinisch? I think it might be Heinisch, actually. I couldn't quite remember the surname. But both of them have got over 100,000 followers. And of course, I think Ian it's Ian Heinisch is UFC fighter, I think. So it's out there. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. Man, I've got to check out the space building game afterwards for this hashtag. So that is pretty exciting there. Now, we're going to get into, I think, the big one here, which is the show that we're going to be doing. We're going to be covering our final bit. Now, I added this on because we're 49 minutes on the hour, so I want to be a bit quicker with the crypto today. But we're going to be covering, Secretary Besant, because this is alpha that you need to know. This is huge. This is Trump's economic plan. I've been telling you guys it, laying it out, and it's been playing out like a charm. I mean, there's little variables that don't control so much, China and European authoritarians they've got to deal with. But I think this is going to be pretty exciting. So check this out. You're going to hear words he says, the words I've been saying. So there we go. Let's watch it now.
Give us your sense of the scoring, as it were, on that bill, because I know you're concerned about the deficit. A lot of people are concerned it's not helping us that much in the deficit.
Well, David, I think this bill is very important because, as I've said, our economic policies, Trump economic policy is really a three-legged stool. So it's trade, taxes.
Three-legged stool, folks. Three-legged stool.
Taxes and deregulations.
You hear that? Trade, taxes, and deregulation. So what I've been saying, guys, come on, let's go.
So this tax bill, first step, making it through the House, I think the permanence in the bill from 2017 is going to give, everyone's talking about, oh, there's not enough certainty now. Well, what I can tell you is this permanence is going to give great certainty. And I think the scoring, you and I have talked about it quite a bit. It's Washington-style scoring, and it's not real-world scoring. What I am concerned about, or have been concerned about, are we controlling expenses? Yes. Are we going to grow the economy and accelerate the economy and stabilize and then bring down the total debt to GDP? And I think this bill does a great job of that.
So that's really important, right? The total debt down in GDP. Remember the numbers for the GDP, right? GDP about 27 trillion. The total debt in the United States for the federal government is 37, which is essentially owned by the people. And of course, they've got a federal deficit every year of about 2 trillion, with 1 trillion in interest costs, and of course the trade deficit 1.2 trillion. So Trump's dealing with all these issues, and of course Secretary Bessent, Scott Bessent, there is one of the two main frontmen for this strategy. And it is golden. It is golden. So it's playing out like a charm. So ignore everything you see on mainstream media. If you want to know what's going on, Scott Bessent is your man. And of course, it's playing out very, very well indeed. And you should definitely join our strategy club, right? Because you're going to get all the alpha like this. And of course, the other thing of course, is we're covering the biggest news drop on PulseChain. There's nothing bigger than what we're talking about in a strategy club today. It is only, about an hour and 2 hours away from now. There's going to be nothing bigger on PulseChain than this. It's going to be absolutely the Magic Cup ride on top of the Magic Cup ride. So you definitely want to hear that drop. It is exclusive to the Strategy Club. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So join up today. Link is in the video description. And of course, there's the link there in the chat there. So let's continue on with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, running Trump's strategy, economic strategy, and it's playing out very, very well indeed.
As you told us more than once, one of your goals is a deficit that's no greater than 3% of GDP. The scoring, the predictions on this bill as it's written right now is 7%, maybe 6.5% next year, not anything close to 3%. Now, you said we won't get there right away, but when will we get there?
So that halving of that deficit, that $2 trillion per year, very important. Remember, half of it is interest costs. And of course, interest rates are still relatively high. So this is a big deal, getting down to 3% of GDP from about 6.7. So big deal there.
Well, David, what I've talked about is something with a 3 in front of it by 2028. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get there tomorrow. But what we've got to do is change the trajectory and start moving it down. So, could we get down to 6%, something below there with a 5 handle? Because what the scoring doesn't include, we have substantial tariff income coming in, so that's not included. We have DOGE savings in the hundreds of billions, that's not included. And then President Trump has made this very bold proposal on prescription drug pricing, which could save HHS substantial amounts of money. So none of those are included. So I'm very optimistic.
So let's include those for a moment here and start with the first one that you identified, which is tariffs. We've had some announcements even very recently about tariffs, maybe 50% from EU and 25% on Apple products. Is that motivation for that revenue? I mean, do you need those tariffs actually to go into effect to meet the numbers you need in the deficit?
Not at all, because we have substantial revenue coming in now, and there is, at some point, there's an equilibrium rate, let's call it a Laffer curve for tariffs. And I think we will reach that rate. The other thing that's happening is a lot of their tariff barriers or non-tariff trade barriers. A lot of these non-tariff trade barriers are coming down, so friction's decreasing there. And again, because we don't know where these tariff negotiations are going to end up, they won't end up being scored. But it's several $100 million a year, several $100 billion a year of revenue that will be used. For every 100 billion, that's 100 billion less of bonds that Treasury has to issue.
When you talk about uncertainty and getting more certainty because of the tax bill, some of the uncertainty, a lot of it is because of tariffs right now, because we're not exactly sure where we're going to end up. Do you have a sense when the economic community, the business community, will get better certainty on tariffs?
Well, we've done the 90-day pause. As I mentioned several times, we have 18 important trading partners. So what everyone should really focus on are those. We've done a deal with the UK. My sense is over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have several large deals announced. We have put a pause and a 90-day pause with China. I expect that we will be negotiating in person with them again. And then the president today, when we initiated the pause and the 10% are moving down from the April 2nd rate to the 10% level was contingent on countries or trading blocs coming and negotiating in good faith. And I think the president was getting frustrated with the EU. The problem with EU, I've said several times, they have a collective action problem. There are 27 countries. They all have different needs. The Germans, they are interested in cars, the French in agriculture. So, and then you have Brussels negotiating with them. Now, I am very impressed. I met my German counterpart, who's part of the new German government, the German finance minister in Banff, that he was very responsive. I think that the new Chancellor, Merz, is going to give an opportunity for a U.S.-Germany reset. So I'm very optimistic that perhaps Germany can help push the EU forward here.
Let's talk for a moment.
So that's really key part there, right? Though 15 to 18 countries are the really big economies in the world. Or they might be a bloc or a big country. We're talking about India, South Korea, Japan, countries like that, and of course the EU. EU, of course, is a bit sticky, like the China, and of course those are the two ones that have to really sort out. And of course, ramping up the pressure today with Trump on the food, with the 50% tariffs there, just to put more pressure on them to get to the table and to really start taking action. That obviously impacts particularly France and places like that. So yeah, it's a big deal. And of course, this is what's going to getting these deals through over the next few weeks, through May, through June, is really big for the market, and it's going to just keep fueling that market because we're going to get many of them over the line. We know there's 115 countries already lined up for trade deals, so it's going to be pretty exciting to see this all play out. Trump has to have all the strategy, the tariffs, the regulations, or deregulations, and leverage, as well as the new trade order in place by the 4th of July. That's going to be the bulk of it. It's going to be done by then. There'll obviously be stuff tailing in after that, but 4th of July is the mark where Trump lays his foundation for the golden era of America. Already, of course, he's done astoundingly with the over $13 trillion of investment, which is just unbelievable numbers. Remember, the US GDP is 27 trillion. So, 13 trillion of investment, and a lot of it's going in to key sectors, which are just going to boom the United States. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Of course, if the United States booms, the rest of the world booms, right? Because the United States is the big consumer, and therefore they're going to consume more stuff around the world. So that is where you drive the engine. Of course, he's lowered the inputs into the economy with oil down over $20, almost $25. And of course, his interest rates looks like it's a matter of time before they have to capitulate and reduce the US interest rates there from 4.5% down, maybe down to 3.5% or something. And that will really fire up the financial markets, as well as more money printing. And of course, Trump's opening up the supply side, right? So that you get that lower inflation over time. So really exciting stuff happening here.
Something you know terribly well, have lived it your professional life, which is the markets. Mm-hmm. The bond market hasn't necessarily stood up and applauded with what they've seen out of Congress. Is the bond market wrong?
Well, I think the notion that in any movements in the bond market are being driven by the action of Congress is what's wrong. First of all, this has been a global phenomenon. That the Japanese yields have moved substantially, German, UK, and David, if we go back and look, since either the beginning of the year or January 20th, when the Trump administration came in, the US 10-year is the only yield that is lower today. So, all yields are up. And again, I think that was a coincident indicator. The market's very good at latching on to a story. So I'm not particularly worried about what the market's thinking, because, on the other hand, what the market also could be thinking is that this bill is going to create growth.
At the same time, you have things like the term premium up almost to 1% now, and you also have real yield up well over 2%. Should we be concerned with that? Is there a question here about the long-term ability to repay the debt?
Look, I think that, again, as growth accelerates, I'm not worried about the U.S. debt dynamics.
This is the key, right? So all these policies are designed to move the US economy into growing 3-4% GDP or more, and it will take care of virtually everything else. But there's the one thing that they haven't talked about yet, which this Trump strategy is doing, and that is an asset play on debt. So let's see if he ends up talking about that coming up.
Because a change in the growth trajectory takes care of a lot of that.
Should we be concerned when we see yields going up on U.S. Treasuries and the dollar weakening? Normally, that's not the way it works, as I understand it. Is that something we should be concerned about?
Well, I'm not concerned about it, because I think part of it is we are seeing other countries step up. So I wouldn't, on many of them, I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as a weak dollar. It's, for the first time in much of my career, Europe is actually going through a fiscal expansion. Back to this new German government, that they are opening the German purse for the first time, maybe even since the advent of the euro. They're taking off the debt brake. So the fundamentals are driving the euro. Japan is seeing a large increase in interest rates, driven by the Bank of Japan. So, I think a lot of this is other countries strengthening, or other currencies strengthening, as opposed to the dollar weakening.
You have said you're concerned, certainly, about the deficit getting under control, and that President Trump, and what you says, that's really a priority for him, to get down to something with a 3 beginning it, at least, if not 3.0%. How high a priority is that? And let me push you on a little bit, like Mario Draghi. Will you do whatever it takes to get it to that level, so that if the present plan does not work the way you hope it will, you'll take other steps?
Well, I think what we've been trying to do, especially on the cost-cutting side, whether it's DOGE, whether it's OMB, is go line by line. And on a lot of this, the Democrats are fighting us, the courts are fighting us. So let's see where that ends up. And of course, we can keep coming back in terms of making government more efficient. I think I've been there.
There's an important point, right? So making government more efficient in what they're doing, but what they're actually doing, this is the big play, is they're shrinking the public sector and expanding the private sector, right? So they're moving away from this horrific authoritarian machine that the Democrats were trying to get permanent control over, to enslave the people, and they're moving it to the private sector for freedom, so that everybody else gets out to decide with their own choices what they want to do, how they want to live. So this is really, really important. This big theme is a pivot from shrinking the public sector and all its propaganda, all its Marxism, globalism stuff, and moving it to the private sector, where you, the individual, along with your communities, get to decide, what business are you going to do, how you're going to live, all that sort of stuff. So it really, really fundamental here. And of course, this is a big deal. So let's continue on.
2.5 months now, and I can tell you the amount of waste, fraud, and abuse is startling.
Yeah, I think most of us who have dealt with Washington would not disagree with that at all. The question is, where do you trim and how do you go about it? There was a $2 trillion number thrown out at a rally here in New York City, as I recall, by Elon Musk and Howard Lutnick. Was that a wrong number? Are you going to come close to $2 trillion out of costs?
Well, we'll see over what the scoring window is. Could we end up with 150 billion a year in savings? Over the CBO window, that'd be $1.5 trillion.
So just remember that out of the budget, the federal budget, they make about $7 billion, and the expenses are about $7 billion, just over. Their income is just over $5 billion. So there's about $2 billion deficit there. So obviously, Elon came out talking about we can save probably up to $2 trillion, and there may very well be that amount of fraud and waste projects, right? Because all the stuff they went through with Doge, they could not find any reason for the expense. It was all left blank, right? Which is pretty much fraudulent type of behavior. And so they've gone through that. They got when Elon left in early May, they got about 160 billion savings out of that, right? So that's not been included. And then, of course, Trump was sitting at the White House there in the cabinet meeting saying, well, we think we might get to 2-3 times higher. So originally they were targeting $1 trillion out of that budget expenditure, which was $7 billion. And so they got down about 160. And so Trump was indicating, well, actually, we've got some other stuff on the move, and we'll probably get up to maybe $350 to $500 billion, so $500 billion at the top there. But actually, because they're facing a lot of legal pushback from Democrats trying to protect in the courts, protect a lot of their corruption in the other departments in the United States, they've been trying to stop blocking that out, right? So that's been a big deal. Obviously, you got also other departments like U.S. Defense that have security issues as well, like that. You can't allow a 17-year-old genius to go mucking around there. So it's a bit like War Games, if you guys remember that from the 1980s. But it's a big deal there. So they're really, I think, going to continue to make savings there quite a lot there as they move forward from year to year. As he pointed out, maybe another 150 billion. I think they're going to do a lot better than that. But he's trying to be conservative, of course.
But you're on track, you think, on the cost cutting side?
Well, again, there's a lot of resistance that the Doge and Elon were criticized for the pace they did. But I tell you, just in my 3.5 months in Washington, if you don't move fast, then the swamp kind of grabs you and you start sinking, and the vested interests kick in.
What other tools do you have in your toolbox to apply to the deficit if the present plan doesn't deliver all that you hope?
Oh, look, I think it's why do we wait?
That's a really important point about the pushback, as I said to you, and the Democrats using a lot of the courts to try and go after them. Now, you got to remember, they've got very big, powerful billionaire backers. They have very powerful law firms sitting in Washington and other states in the United States like Chicago, New York. And so they activate these very quickly, and then they go to big Democrat judges, and they try to get these all shut down, right? So this is what we've been seeing. So Trump's administration's up against that. And, of course, the Justice Department is pushing back on a lot of these things because they're trying to, destroy Trump's agenda by illegal warfare, right? That's kind of the easiest tactic they have amongst a few others they've been using as well. So, not surprising there, the old swamp defending its corruption,
See how this works out, because I think we can see, as I mentioned, it's a three-legged stool. So I think.
So as you guys know, I called the strategy three-legged stool, and here we go, the three-legged stool. So there we go. Hectrog says, private sector is so good, I live in a cage. Yeah, apparently you need a bit of freedom there. Maybe Brian can help you.
It would be the third part, trade, tax, and deregulation. So deregulation is the slowest moving part.
So that's what I said to you. The deregulation will play out over time. But one thing he's not talking about at the moment, at least, is leverage, right? The leverage is where they're really wanting to get to with the small, medium banks throughout the Midwest. These were the ones that were pretty much shut down, and the big banks, which are highly connected to the Democrat Party, were the ones that were making all the money and making all the calls. Where you get to even so powerful like BlackRock, where they're actually saying, we won't fund you, we won't invest in you, we'll shut you down if you don't put through our woke agenda. these are Democrat themes, right? You don't do this, you don't do climate change, we'll shut you down. So this is all Democrat-driven control. Has nothing to do with reality, right? It's all about control. And so, this is where they're shifting. So not only are they trying to shrink the U.S. government and shift it over to the private sector to take away the control, authoritarianism over time, but they're also trying to build back Middle America. So that Middle America gets the same prosperity, because they've been the biggest ones hit, right? Since the 1970s, over 7 million jobs were lost in manufacturing. That was also the middle class, right? Because of high-paying jobs, and of course they were all shrinking throughout the Midwest and everywhere else. And only the coastal cities, these Democrat cities, which were operating, were enjoying all the money slush, right? Because the money slush went to all these big banks, right? That were doing all the risk-on stuff. So this is a really fundamental move here that the Trump administration is doing.
I would expect that to substantially kick in to the economic growth in the third, fourth quarters and really accelerate next year.
That is huge, right? So we're talking about, when's this all going to kick in? Short term, yeah, we can sense there's going to be some short-term hits on different measures, right? Obviously, using a volatile tariff strategy to pressure trade deals to reorganize the world trade. That's obviously going to give a bit of volatility. But when is the actual real economy going to start getting hit from all this investment and all these new policies around tariffs and taxes and everything else? Well, he's talking about third, fourth quarter into 2026. So we're going to expect a fundamental ramp up in the US economy, as well as a lot more money printing. And of course, our bull market's going to be through the roof. I think it's going to be so mega, it's going to leave behind what we've seen before. And maybe instead of getting a 3x in Bitcoin, to 150, 160K, we're going to see maybe a 5x, even potentially higher, given the fact how supply and demand will work. And of course, all these institutions and sovereign states and US states coming in to buy Bitcoin, for example, are buying it off who? Mostly the retail book, right? Which has been, hodling this stuff and accumulating this stuff for, 16 years or something, so it's pretty crazy, at least, the last 10 years in particular.
Also, one of the most powerful economic parts of the tax bill is the immediate expensing of capital goods, 100% for capital goods.
That is so critical, right? So we've got like over $13 trillion being committed to come into the US economy in 4 months. And now we've also got this tax expensing for capital outlays. You're talking about a manufacturing building boom like you've never seen before. This is going to be unbelievable. 1,000x for PulseChain. Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that at the end of the live stream. We're going to talk about 10x, 100x, 1,000x, and 10,000x for those that have managed to hold on to all this awesome information. So hold on to you for that.
And what we have added to that is 100% expensing of factory structures. So I think that could really accelerate the growth.
And as you look at this problem right now, what is your approach to making sure that we bring the U.S. economic machine into line, and particularly the business community and investment, most importantly?
Well, let's talk about two pieces. Before I was with you just now, I was with a group of community bankers. So we are doing a substantial amount of financial deregulation to make sure that the benefits are more evenly distributed across the U.S. economy.
There we go. That's exactly what I just said, right? So they're going to be dealing with the bank reserves and things like that to increase lending and ability. And of course, this is fantastic.
That, as I said before, Wall Street's done great. Now it's time for Main Street to do well also. And
there we go, folks. That's what I've been saying, right? So here you're hearing it from the man himself. And that's all you have to do. So if you want to be smarter than everybody else, don't listen to mainstream media. You're going to be dumber. You're going to be just dumb. You're going to be a zombie, right? You're just going to, get back to what they say. You've got to go to the guy that's running the show, right? And that is Scott Bessent. And there are a couple of other senior advisors in the Trump administration also doing it.
Both do great together. It's not an either or. So when I was with these community bankers, they were talking about the substantial amount of regulation that's been crushing them over the past 10, 15 years, and a huge amount of small business loans, huge amount of real estate loans, ag loans are made by these community banks. So we are really focusing on that. On U.S. business, we want to make the U.S. the most attractive location for capital. You and I were talking, I was just with the president in the Middle East. We were in Saudi, we're in Qatar, and we're in the UAE. And the trillions of dollars that are going to be
Over $5 trillion was collected from that trip in the Middle East between Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE. Over $5 trillion. Unbelievable. That took the $8 trillion investing into manufacturing and AI up over $13 trillion in 4 months. People do not understand what is about to happen in the golden age of America. It is unbelievable. Remember, the US economy is about 27 trillion. This is incredible, and this is just the income expenditure side of the financial statement of America. Trump is redoing the whole asset and liability side as well. So if you think of it from an accounting point of view, this is going to be unbelievable. They're doing a full survey on the asset side, both above the ground, below the ground, and off in the ocean there in the old good old Gulf of America, East Coast, West Coast. They are doing it. It's going to be huge. People have no idea what these guys are going to be doing, and it's going to be unbelievable stuff there. We got Brendan there laughing his head off. We got what is that like? What's that part there? I'm not sure. Is that what is that? Is that a zombie? It is a zombie. Very good.
Pushed into the U.S.
One form of regulation that gets a lot of attention in New York and on Wall Street is banking regulation. Let's talk about the supplemental leverage ratio, which seems like an obscure thing off to the side, but it has been the subject of much discussion. And it does, as I understand it, relate to U.S. Treasuries and yields on U.S. Treasuries, so that if major banks held more U.S. Treasuries, it would bring yields down. You've said you're going to take more of an active role, as I understand it, with respect to some of that banking regulation. Where are we with that?
I think we are very close to moving the supplementary leverage ratio, SLR. That is moving along very quickly between the three banking regulators, the Fed, the OCC, and the FDIC. So I would think we could see something on that over the summer.
So this is huge, right? This gets back to this reserves that I was talking about, small, medium banks and stuff in the United States. So thousands of banks, particularly being able to lend out more money. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, this is huge. So yeah, you're talking about top down, bottom up. I mean, this is mind blowing. Really is amazing stuff. Gulf of America, says Brian. Gulf of America indeed. Hey, good morning, Hut with Dog. Big shout out there. Yeah, we covered Hut with Dog at the beginning, so hopefully you managed to check that out as well. We've got our poll at the moment. Only got a couple of hours to go. Everyone's got to get into the poll there for Heart with Dog. In fact, let's repost that up the top there in the chat. It's right at the top. So I got that here somewhere. Yeah, Pulse of the Fallen. Choose your next favorite influencer. There are 4 to choose from. So definitely get out and check that. So not bad. All right. Let's move on there. Gulf of America. Gulf of America. All right.
So, and knowing the markets as you do, would you anticipate that might have a significant material effect on Treasury yields?
Well, I think it could, because banks are being penalized for holding treasuries. You know, there's a large supplementary leverage charge. So I think for holding the risk-free asset, we can reduce that. And, you know, I've seen estimates that it could bring yields down by tens of basis points. Certainly during the COVID crisis, it was temporarily taken off, and it had a big effect.
Let me ask something different, but I think might be related, which is stablecoin. If really we went big into stablecoin in this country, what effect could that have on the strength of the dollar? Because people might have to hold dollars in order to match against it, or even for treasuries.
Well, we are going big on digital assets. So
woohoo! Digital assets, guys. Let's see where this goes, though.
Administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do.
Remember that when they shut down all the on-ramps, the Democrats, the nasty little Democrats, because they wanted to shut down Freedom and DeFi, and they shut down, and CeFi as well. They wanted to shut down all the major banks that were doing all the conversions from fiat to crypto. Man, it's just horrific, right? New York and all that. It's just crazy stuff.
Apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And you know, I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. Treasuries and Treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about 300 billion right now.
There are reports, including on Bloomberg, that there may be, if I can call it, privatization of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, something that's been talked about since I think they were nationalized, essentially, during the great financial crisis. I heard the president say, I'm going to ask Scott Bessent about this. So has he asked you, and where does that stand?
It is a goal for this administration. Again, we're doing peace deals, tax deals, trade deals. So as we land some of those deals, then we will focus on that. But David, what I can tell you, we are doing a great deal of studying at Treasury, because the one requirement for this privatization is that they are privatized in such a way that mortgage spreads, they do not widen. And in fact, is there a way that we can make the spread between the risk-free rate and mortgages tighten as the Fannie and Freddie are privatized?
That was exactly my question. So do you know the answer to the question? Is there a way to do that? Because most people are concerned that will drive up mortgage rates.
Sure, there's several ways to do it, and we're exploring it. So we will move forward. Again, after we land some of the peace deals, trade deals, and tax deals, then we will work on this privatization deal.
One of your many responsibilities has to do with taxation and the IRS. I know that you are really pushing hard for modernization of the IRS. At the same time, we've lost a lot of people at the IRS. Isn't that hurting their ability to do their job?
So, David, my three priorities: collections, privacy, and customer service. And if we look over a long view, we haven't lost a lot of people at the IRS. There was a massive headcount increase from the Inflation Reduction Act, and back to this crazy CBO scoring. By increasing expenses, there was this scoring that you would actually somehow up collections, which didn't happen. So we had a great collections year this year, came in above target, and this modernization program, the tech modernization program at the IRS, was begun in 1990. The young man who was in charge of it who I put in charge of it was not even born then. So that it's 15 billion over budget. It's a $3.5 billion a year budget. I think it's running on COBOL, which is what
Yeah, so there is running on COBOL. That's pretty funny. That's how old some of the systems are.
Learned in college on 12 different systems. So we are going to fix that. And I think all three of my priorities are going to be served. And I think it could be substantial savings to the American people, because the IRS roughly processes as many transactions as a mid-sized U.S. bank, which does it at 10% of the number of people, 10% of the cost.
President Trump said a while ago, posted actually on social media, that they were in the process of removing the tax-exempt status from Harvard. There's been a lot of issues with Harvard, but that's one that comes within your bailiwick. Where is that process right now?
The president is moving forward with that, and we're also looking at taxes on endowments. And I think the important thing here, and it goes a little bit back to this Main Street versus the elites, that Harvard, to have a tax-exempt status, there are rules you have to follow. And if you're not following the rules, no one's above the law. So we will see if they're following the rules. It looks like there's a substantial number where perhaps they weren't. And, again, too, Harvard is a gigantic hedge fund. They run a leveraged investment model. So we'll see where all that goes.
Is it Harvard alone, or are there other universities or colleges that also might be subject to review on tax-exempt status?
I haven't seen that, but again, back to cutting government expenses. These things are more out of control. The universities, they are more out of control than the government. That there is a separate inflation index. It's called like the Index of Higher Education Inflation Index, and most of the expenses have grown at CPI plus 3%. So, they need to get their houses in order.
Let's come back to Banff, because you just got back from the G7 meetings. And the communique, as I read it, really focused on imbalances. What were the imbalances you're most concerned about?
Well, I think the group as a whole was very concerned about the global imbalances around China, that China just keeps increasing their share of global manufacturing and has not done a much needed adjustment in terms of consumption. And as I predicted, I normally don't like to take victory laps, but I did predict it, and I was right. I said when the U.S. put up the tariff wall, that all those Chinese goods would go somewhere, and I think the G6 has seen that these Chinese goods are starting to permeate into their economies. They're quite worried about it. But there's a whole series of global imbalances. We have a large trade deficit with the EU, so we'd like to see more pro-growth consumer spending there. And but the real thing, when I think about China and the rest of the world, especially the U.S. In the U.S., we are trying to rebalance towards more manufacturing, mostly high-end manufacturing, not the kind China has. Everyone agrees that China needs to rebalance toward less manufacturing, more consumption.
That's very important, right? Because that's what's a big problem for China, is that they haven't moved towards more consumption economy, more individualistic in the sense of individual choices, and that's been a big problem for China, and it makes them very vulnerable, especially these trade reorganizations.
And is there a chance that we could do it together? What Ray Dalio might call a big, beautiful rebalancing.
So as I understand, I'm not a macroeconomist, as you know, but so as I understand it, when you have these trade imbalances, it means we're importing, buying more things, and we're exporting dollars, essentially, overseas. A lot of those dollars have been coming back to us in various forms, particularly in U.S. treasuries. Can you have a rebalancing, for example, with China, or with Europe for that matter, that doesn't necessarily raise the yield on treasuries because there are less dollars overseas to be invested in U.S. treasuries?
Oh, sure. I mean, these balances weren't always like this. In 2000, before the China shock, we've historically had big inflows into treasuries. But what used to happen was in the old days, trade would come in, and then we would sell the other country a GM. Now we are selling them either a treasury bond, private equity, or Google stock, and that has a lot of distributional problems within the U.S. So that's how we've ended up with the coast or Wall Street doing very well, middle of the country, manufacturing being gutted. So, I think it's the composition of the flows coming back in. And then, as you mentioned, I think we can see more bond buying by U.S. citizens, U.S. institutions. But the other thing that I will say is, I have access to the data, and we've actually been seeing foreign national entities, whether it's reserve managers, sovereign wealth funds, or pension funds, have been buying more treasuries in the latest auctions.
So when we talk about trade, we talk about goods, sometimes services. What about capital flows and how capital flows work? There seems to be a movement in parts of the world toward stopping capital flows. I mean, we've had Macron in France say Europe can make it on its own. We've had Australia take certain actions requiring pension plans to invest domestically. Are we moving toward autocracy?
I don't think we have to. There's certainly nothing the U.S. is doing to prevent capital flows. Except for strategic products, high value tech products. The rest, we want smooth capital flows globally. Could we see more people being more nationalistic? Maybe. But again, as we saw with these trillions of dollars from these Middle East countries coming into the U.S., the U.S. is the premier destination for capital we are working to do everything we can on that. And David, back to your question on the money coming back into the bond market, that a lot of it's going to come back in the form of foreign direct investment, which is actually a much more stable kind of investing.
Let's talk about the dollar for a second and where the dollar is. I've seen some charts actually about the nominal value of the dollar versus purchasing power parity. And in fact, that there's been a growing difference between those, where the nominal value is well above PPP. I mean, almost at historical levels. From your experience with markets, does that have to correct itself? Does that mean the dollar's overvalued?
It doesn't have to mean it's overvalued, and lots of times that levels can stay, versus PPP, which is just an academic measure. Many currencies stay above their PPP equilibrium for a long period. And David, I can tell you that when I look at the amount of innovation going on in the U.S. vis-a-vis the rest of the world, everybody wants to come here.
So as you look forward, what is the thing that worries you the most?
That we are not able to, that somehow our agenda gets slowed down. That whether it's the courts, whether it's the Democrats, that's really what worries me the most.
And on deregulation, how long will it take till we actually see it in productivity?
Well, I think we're going to see it in the economic numbers in the third and fourth quarter.
There we go, folks. I mean, that's kind of the beginning of the golden age of America, where we start seeing these productivity inputs. We're going to see tons of new revenue, jobs, manufacturing. It's going to be really just starting to tick up there. It's just going to ratchet up from Q3, which is, like I said, Trump has to have all his strategy in place. These are the big tax bill, the regulation leverage, and of course the third leg of the stool is the tariffs, and of course the reordering of the World Trade Order. And of course, those three things need to be in place largely by the 4th of July. However, the regulations leverage side will continue just to be built out as we move towards the end of the year. And that's when we will get to quite a bit of crypto regulation as well by September, October. And so that's going to be pretty interesting to see that play out. So 4th of July, real key mark there, lay the foundation, and then Golden Age of America really starts to kick off. It's going to be a lot of fun.
In the third and fourth quarter of this year?
Yep.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, because again, that when you ask me what worries me is this. Look, we need this substantial permitting reform, that we aren't able to build things, that we have, because of this AI boom, we're becoming the AI superpower. Well, that's going to take a lot of electricity.
So yeah, on that, the AI is a big key part of this capital that's been coming in, especially the first 8 trillion block, the second 5 trillion block from the Middle East. A lot of AI coming out of there, particularly Qatar and places. It requires tons of energy at the moment, given the way the chips are designed. And so what do we had to see today from Trump that I didn't talk about earlier? Well, he was signing all these executive orders and had all the executives for around the nuclear space, right? Nuclear power station builders. He had micro, mini nuclear power modular systems coming out with the CEOs there. He also had the raw materials for nuclear energy, uranium, things like that there as well, all in the Oval Office. That was today, and he was saying that that's opening up that whole new era of there to support particularly the relationships. And one of the key insights there was that the AI manufacturing firms were going to these nuclear energy suppliers to get potentially dedicated nuclear modules to actually fund to supply the energy for their AI systems. I mean, this is really huge, guys. This is a next level movement in a modern economy. It is crazy, crazy stuff. So, imagine having modular nuclear power supply for a big AI warehouse, for example, of machines. Pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And you get that, low cost, relatively high energy output. You don't have to worry about intermittent energy like wind or solar. You don't have to worry about gas supplies or coal supplies, or how far you're transporting that energy. You can modulize it next door to your big high-tech AI factory This is game-changing stuff. And that was all today. So really, really big stuff there is happening. And of course, the mainstream media is not informing anybody about these things. And of course, that's why when it all starts happening in third quarter, fourth quarter, everyone's going, "Whoa, what happened? I was told by the mainstream media this was all terrible. We're going to be, going to have terrible equity. Everyone's going to be poverty and all that." And yet here we are in the golden age of America, and they're going, "What happened? What happened?" So yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy.
So you're going to need energy pipelines. You're going to need transmission, and the fact that that it takes 3, 6, 7 years for the permitting. So what worries me is that somehow we get bogged down in a legal morass, because this administration is really trying to get America back to building again.
So instead of 5 to 7 year permits, which you had under the Democrats, you had this net zero and climate change fake narrative, right? You actually now going to get the permitting. They're trying to get it around really quick, potentially within 6 to 9 months, probably. And then, of course, then you can have build outs, right, which are going to be really fast. So whatever traditionally people thought might build a certain type of factory or production, that may have been 2 years or 4 years, something like that, maybe even longer for more complicated manufacturing. They're going to try and get down even faster. You're talking about 9 to 18 months. I mean, we're probably going to change the whole estimate paradigm for how fast things get built, as well as permitting. And so you're going to start seeing this huge, uplift in LNG plants and all sorts of nuclear plants and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be crazy how much faster. And of course, that's going to ramp up economic growth in the golden age of America, get these high GDP rates, end up, even with the tax bill lowering tax rates, end up getting a bigger tax take for the federal bill, meanwhile cutting all the cuts with the Doge, and of course addressing that $2 trillion deficit. $1 trillion is going to interest costs. This is the Democrats and the old GOP uni party that did this to America. It is crazy stuff. So yeah, it's going to be pretty fun to see all this play out. Now, the Democrats aren't going to get away with it all, right? They're going to try and go through the court system to deal with a lot of this. But they're also going to have problems with themselves being up in court. There's going to be, I think, many Democrats and some Republicans that will be held to account for some of these fraudulent kickback projects that were inside the USAID and things like that. So it's not all going to go their way. It's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, and that's going to play out in the next, year or two, as the evidence gets mounted and the court cases start being made. I think we're going to see that from Pam Bondi, the U.S. attorney. It's going to be pretty interesting.
One of the things that people are interested in is the sovereign wealth fund. I remember, actually, as I recall, seeing President Trump sign an executive order with you in the Oval Office, and talking about it at the time. Where does that stand right now? Because some people say, if you're really going to try to build the wealth of the United States, you're better off cutting the deficit than borrowing money to put it in a sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah, I think the president decided that it's on pause while we work on everything else that we're doing now. So, and he said the other day that we'll probably spend more time paying down debt. He is laser focused on paying down debt.
And you're prepared.
So remember those key 3 things that Trump is trying to deal with that the Democrats and the old Republican Union Party made, right? The big debt, the US debt, 37 trillion and growing. The federal deficit, 2 trillion with 1 trillion in interest rate costs. The trade deficit with 1.2 trillion in physical goods. Now, they do make surpluses in services, right? So the US is a next services, but those things don't feed you. Those things don't defend you, right? Those things are all non-physical. So getting physical security, getting physical manufacturing and goods in America is fundamental, because what people don't know often is that China has been going for the last 10 years, going around securing all these resources around the world, while America's been, dominated by people after power, right? The old Democrats and the Unity Party members. And so they haven't been doing that. And this is what Trump is scrambling to do, is to secure resources, including rare earths, material for nuclear power stations, all this sort of stuff, copper, it's all out there that they're trying to scamper now, because Trump's been going, China's been going around securing deals in Australia, in South America, in Africa, in the Middle East, right? Well, America was just not even looking at it. So just digging itself deeper. So this is absolutely fundamental. A turnaround of events, and it has to happen fast, right? Has to happen fast there. That's why Trump has to pull so many, confusing and very abrupt things to make sure that he gets back on the front foot, because it's only authoritarian, regimes that are gaining the power, and we can't have that, Even in the West, we've got all these authoritarian regimes trying to take over the society as well. And of course, if you look at their heroes are always like China or something. And you're like, what the heck? What happened to our great Western freedom? And of course, that's Trump's the last man standing to protect that. Without Trump, there would be none. We'd end up getting in a full-on dystopian future, right? So so we're just lucky, very lucky at the moment.
If it doesn't go the way you want it to do other adjustments to make sure we are paying down the debt, because some people are a little skeptical.
Well, again, David, let's talk about can you grow the denominator faster than the numerator? Like the reason we got here was, think about taking out a home mortgage. It's fine if the value of your house is stable or growing faster than the debt. What's happened is, that previous administrations took out a big mortgage. We didn't grow our way out of it. Now, I actually think that there is a chance that we can constrain the spending, up the growth, and that changes the trajectory. Because going back to this CBO scoring, which is alien to anything that makes sense, that if you cut taxes, they still score growth at 1.7, 1.8%. If we raise taxes, and if this tax bill didn't go through, it would be the biggest tax hike in history, then growth stays at 1.8%. So, I think that we can accelerate growth here. So, my worry would be that somehow there is a glitch and the tax bill did not get passed soon enough. So, I would encourage our colleagues in the Senate to push for the July date that Leader Thune has.
Last question.
So it's very important on the 26th of this month that they get it through, and of course, hopefully to the president by July there. So very important that
growth is critical to your approach and the president's approach.
Thune, of course, is from the Senate, right? So it goes from the Congress to the Senate. We just had the Congress push it through.
What growth are we talking about? What are you projecting and when? Because right now we're not close to 3% growth.
Look, I think we can get to 3% pretty quickly.
Well, okay.
So this is a big ask, right? A lot of people are saying, we really haven't seen a sort of growth rate since like the 50s. So this is a huge thing. And of course, like I said, might get a tip with the tax, decrease overall. If the GDP grows, then we're going to get more tax, right? That's kind of the whole group there. And of course, he's talking about Q3, Q4. So yeah, we're only in this little window of potential vulnerability, and then should avoid this so-called Morgan Stanley type of recession, which, they had a 30-40% chance of that. So yeah, this is it's going to be pretty awesome moving through this side, and of course skimming above that recessionary line and moving forward into this big boom. Not only in the fundamentals for the United States real economy, but also in the financial markets. Of course, we're going to benefit big time in crypto for that.
How quickly is pretty quickly?
I
Months,
think,
quarters, years?
Quarters.
In quarters, we'll be at 3%, you believe?
Yes.
Sustainable.
Yeah. Look,
it's going to be even more, guys. I'm telling you, it's going to be more. It's going to be probably 4% plus. We could see some unbelievable. This will be real GDP growth. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be crazy. Now, what are some of the catalysts of that? Of course, reorganizing the world trade, bringing in manufacturing that raises the middle class and real incomes. It distributes wealth better than any other policy. So you can ignore all the silly Democrat nonsense, the old Marxist globalist rubbish. This is actually going to be real. And of course, it's going to lift incomes in middle America. So it's going to be huge, as well as all the cities as well. So it's going to be absolutely booming there. And, the other cool thing is that America's going to be so much safer because Trump has closed down the southern border. He's trying to deal with all the drugs as well. People are going to be so much better off, not just financially, but the quality of life. You're going to be able to walk down the street much safer than you were before Trump came in, dramatically so. And of course, there won't be the human trafficking that was coming through the southern border. Little children and lost. I mean, the Democrats didn't care about any of these people. There are hundreds of thousands lost in America, and some of them being recycled over the border as well. All the women, 1 in 3 women was being sexually assaulted by the gangs pushing over. And we're talking about somewhere between 15 and 20 million people coming through the southern border. I mean, it's huge. So imagine how many women that was. Just crazy stuff. So yeah, the world's going to be safer. We're going to be more prosperous. And man, it is going to be, I think we're going to see stuff in America we've never seen before. actually advancing us in modern technology. We're obviously going to see Elon Musk, all going well. September, October next year, heading off to Mars with his Optimus Prime humanoids. Imagine seeing those ships there. There'll be probably a group of them, no doubt, landing on Mars, and then humanoids walking out on the planet. Can you imagine what that's going to look like? I mean, it'd be like a 4 or 5 minute delay, maybe 6-minute delay in the feed. But man, it's going to be mind blowing, and that's all during the golden age of America. We've got some fun things coming up for us as well.
I think we were in the middle of, as I talk to industry, this U.S. innovation edge. We are starting to see real productivity increases like no other country is. I think with the deregulation, with the certainty from taxes, and with this full expensing, which from 2018, 2019, going into COVID, for the industrial economy really gave it big impetus. So, I'm expecting that by, certainly by this time next year, we will be north of 3, and that we will be turning the corner toward the end of the year.
Wow. So that is huge, guys. Got to feel bullish about where the US economy is going. It's going to benefit the rest of the world, of course, the flow-in effects, and of course the financial markets. When people are earning more, their assets are worth more. That's risk on appetite. Interest rates are lower. Money being printed, supplies being expanded, demand's increasing. Man, it's just a mega boom about to hit us. And man, you got to enjoy it while it lasts, because it's we just don't know the guarantees after Trump leaves. We're going to get another good quality leader to follow in his footsteps to take over. Will he win? What tricks will the Democrats try to play out? Because of course they were very much looking to hand over the America, undermine the U.S. Constitution, hand over America to the globalists, right? So that it would be run by the World Bank and the WFs and the UN, all those crazy nut jobs. They want you to eat little insects and things like that, and then tell you that you're stupid and they're amazing. They're superior to you. So we say, get lost, get lost. We want the golden age of America any day of the week. We want freedom and safety and prosperity. We want to have our choices be made, and we don't want to be enslaved like we're idiots. So I think it's pretty exciting. So great interview there. And of course, the interviewer there, not like CNN, not like attacking, blah, 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 blah. I got your question. I'm attacking you. It was just a nice conversational question with good questions. These are common sense questions. Pretty awesome. Now, you guys may know we've got the Monster Thread. There's week 3 coming up. This has been a huge popular post. And of course, we begin moving into promotions here on the Kryptonite Show. MVS Crypt is our promotional leader there. And of course, managing this weekly Monster Thread, doing a fantastic job. So if you're a team out there, you want to get yourself seen, hit myself up or MVS Crypt up and see if you can get yourself in for week 3. Week 4, of course, you can take bookings for that as well. We've got a very cool lineup for this week 3 Monster Thread building up. So you're going to really want to get onto this. We're going to have some other cool stuff coming up as well. X Spaces and Telegram Spaces coming up. You're going to really want to get in there, hear from some of the best teams out there, some of the best stuff happening in PulseChain. And of course, as you guys know, we've been here, 6 years or something. We're consistent, and it's going to keep going. And we've got some new things coming out above that as well. So you're going to really enjoy the roadmap as we play our part in helping, PulseChain win. And of course, it's going to be a wonderful win-win situation there. So a big shout out to MVS. If you want to hit them up, definitely, check it out. So that's week 2 Monster Thread right there. And of course, hit them up today if you want to get in by a Sunday. So let us know. All right, so that is the week 2 Monster Thread. Big shout out to MVS Crypt, or Crypt MVS as he might be called, doing a fantastic job out there. All right, what else I was going to say was finally, let's talk about the title of the video, which is kind of the key part. 10x, 100x, 1000x, and 10,000x. Of course, will PulseChain make you rich? Absolutely, it will make you rich. Now, you've just seen the laying of the real economy. It's going to be booming in the golden age of America under Trump, with Secretary Scott Bessent there leading the way. You heard the strategy, you know the stuff. It's going very well indeed. They've got some hurdles around the Democrats and the legal stuff. They've got to obviously dealing with China, which they seem to have definitely moved forward with the 90-day extension, and of course, in principle, deals being made. And of course, the Trump, China needs the US big time. And of course, we've got the Europeans out there also obviously they're probably even more problematic. So that's going to be a pretty big deal there. Yeah, with Heart with Dog, they're shouting out for the Monster Thread, 100%. doing really well. And of course, we've got lots of good stuff coming in there. So if you're a team out there, you want to get in, just hit either myself or MBS Crip Up Today. And that's going out weekly, right? So pretty awesome. Now, the other thing, of course, is that you've got to make sure that you're in the right thing, right? So the right thing on PulseChain, you can't just be in anything. So if you're speculating a lot of really risky stuff, you can only do that for so long, because when the market really starts taking off on PulseChain, when we get that uptrend, which we know is coming very, very soon, you've got to be in the quality assets. So the very minimum is that you want to be in Richard Hart tokens, probably. You want to be in some of the bigger communities, the ones backed by whales, the Rackham Rochelle's, the fire whales of the world, right? Like X Game and, Solid X and things like that. You really want to be in some of those portfolios. We've covered those on videos before. So if you want to see Rackham Rochelle stuff, we've covered, parts of his portfolio that he's let non-public. So, definitely want to be backing some of the big money. You also want to be in some of the bigger communities, no matter PDDC of the worlds, the teddy bears and things like that. So you got to be with big influencers behind them, because, they're going to have potentially a lot of people get attracted to it, right? You got to have people got to see it. So big communities and big influencer support, they're probably going to do pretty well. And you've also got to be in some of the big DeFis, right? The ones that we know when PulseChain goes on a rally, what are they going to do really well? Well, DEXs, of course, DEX aggregators, they're taking all the volume, right? So no doubt they're all going to get priced up by the market, right? Because they're going to say, hey, volume's gone up 10x, so this should be priced back up in 20x or something like that. So this is where you're going to start getting the tens of X's, right? So it's very important that you're in a lot of that quality. If you're playing around with a lot of risky stuff, then you could be left behind, right, and end up buying higher prices when you could have had a much bigger X upside. So just be careful around, playing around with, and a lot of people play around with riskier stuff when the market's towards the bottom end, which was still sort of in that sort of area. We're probably at the top range of that, right, with PulseChain just below 4,200. But I think once we start going over 4,200 on the PulseChain price, you really got to start thinking seriously about where we are heading. So that's pretty important there for the big gains, the 10x's, the 100x's of the world. Now, are there 1,000 or 10,000 x's on the cards? Absolutely. Now, the first thing, of course, we're talking about is the Magic Cup ride. But in terms of getting those really huge x's, you're going to have to look for some pretty amazing projects. Maybe some of the meme coins possibly could do it, but you've really got to look for some of the very special projects. And of course, that's what we're covering in Strategy Club. And so if you do want to find out some of the big stuff, the biggest one I think that's going to be on PulseChain in this bull market, we've just dropped the alpha last night, and we're having a meeting just after this live stream, actually, in about an hour and 10 minutes in the Strategy Club. So that's going to be a pretty exciting session. The biggest one. I don't see anything bigger than this coming to PulseChain in the bull market, particularly the fact that we're at the bottom now. This is going to be so big. This is a Magic Carpet ride on top of Richard Hart's Magic Carpet ride potential. Of course, we don't know exactly what Richard Hart's going to do. We do know we've got the ETH reserve with 171,000 ETH in it. We do know potentially that he's got big Bitcoin bags and all sorts of stuff like that. He could end up, matching that with PDI and all sorts of different stuff. All sorts of things could play out in that space with some of the PulseChain forks. There's lots of different things that Richard could do to suddenly re-rate the whole chain. Of course, Pulse, of course, and Heart Law. Obviously, Pulse goes up. It's like the ocean going up and all the other coins going up as long as their ratio is the same. And, of course, which ones are going to outdo Pulse? That's the one, right? Some will not outperform Pulse ratio, right? So they'll just decline as others do much better. So you've got to really make sure you're in the right projects, first of all. And then secondly, you've got to say which ones can actually do a 10x. Which one's got, like I say, big communities, big DeFi, big volumes? Which ones will actually do really, really well? And of course, some of the meme coins as well. You've got to make sure be very clever about that. And then, of course, then there's going to be some absolutely incredible gems that the 1,000x, the 10,000x, and of course, those are the ones that you're really trying to think, how do I find one of those? Hex was one of those, right? Back in 2021, one of the 4 or 5 coins. Of course, these days we have way more coins, millions and millions of coins. And of course, you got to find out which is the best. On CoinGecko alone, they got 17,000 coins, right? And of course, you know that people on pump tires are making coins every day. Not they don't all make it a PulseX, but there's always, basic new creation engines anywhere. We see a lot of protocols have democratized the ability to make tokens and manage them like any other founder. We've got Nexion out there. We've got Axel out there. I mean, there's lots of protocols now where you can make your own tokens, right? So it's very, very important. So yeah, you got to find out which ones. I think there's a few that, maybe a very small amount actually, that are going to start getting into the 1,000, the 10,000x. this is outside of a very speculative coins, right? These are, you're a bit lucky if you get on some very early ones early, and a lot of people are chasing at the moment. But if you're after some really solid ones that you think are going to do those big X's, then you got to pick very, very carefully, as I'd say, and do your due diligence. You can't just be lazy and just follow the next big thing, and hopefully you're lucky. You actually have to think about what's actually on PulseChain, what actually could do it, and think really deeply about that. Now, we're helping out in Strategy Club. Of course, you guys know I cover PulseChain every single day. Bear market or bull market, I've been here. And of course, we've just rebranded recently into the Crypto Night Show, and man, we have a good time. We enjoy this so much. We've gone into promotional work, for goodness sake, because we just enjoy getting out there, spreading the word, helping other teams that we think are pretty good get their word out, because they deserve it. They're doing some great stuff, great tokenomics, great thematics. It's really a lot of fun out there. It's going to be really epic. We're going to be covering also a lot of more cultural stuff on PulseChain. I think that's really enriching for the community, as well as tokenomic projects, which we love, obviously. But yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. Now, if you want to find out some of these 1,000, 10,000 X's, you've got to either do the work yourself, or you can come to the Strategy Club and get a bit of our secret sauce, as we've been covering most of PulseChain every single day. The markets, of course, we do the top 100. So definitely get in. Links in the video description. Only $35 a month. So it's super, super good value. I see other people out there charging thousands of dollars for the same thing, and they're not going to drop you these big projects, right? So just take note of that. Check it out. Links in the description. The Strategy Club. Join up today, and we'll see you in there. I've got a session on in just over an hour. It's the biggest thing I think we're going to see throughout the whole PulseChain market. No matter what other people are talking about out there, I've seen it all, and nothing even comes close to this. So get in there, folks. It is going to be a lot of fun. All right, I think we're going to wrap up the show. We're almost 2 hours. Can you believe it? I haven't done a 2-hour show for some time. This is crazy, but what a bunch of alpha in there today. And of course, make sure you always don't be lazy about learning stuff. It's really easy. All intelligent people, to different degrees. And so get out there and put your mind to work and become disciplined, because it's only going to make you better with your crypto, right? You can just pretend that you don't know anything and you're just going to gamble. You can do that. Anybody can do that. But if you really want to start, really getting good at crypto, really start to learn. That's economics, that's politics, and it's crypto itself. It all plays into each other, and you'll have less surprises and won't have to wonder what happened. And we just saw, yesterday with the old Chain, or the exploit of the Central Oracle, and of course with a big drama there, over $250 million there, taken away by some scammer. And so, that's just one area where you have a good information, right? Because maybe you never saw that, right? And you go and buy some of the stuff and you don't realize it's on a down market because people are dumping it. You might have bought it because you didn't even know. You're just ignorant of it. You thought, hey, this is cool. It's a discount of 80%. But you don't know it's going to go down another 90%, right? You don't know that. You're just going to buy it. So don't be that person, right? Be educated and get out there and learn. All right, we're going to wrap that up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Strategy Club links in the video description. A big shout out to all the teams in the chat there, like with Dog. Don't forget to get into that poll. It's about to close. What else? We got a few other people in the chat as well. So big shout out to everybody who made comments, and congratulations to all the free memberships. Big shout out to Brian, our community leader, for shouting out all those. We got Mr. Onazuki in the house there doing some amazing graphics work. Big shout out to you, doing a great job. And of course, Midgard there, awesome updates today. With the bridge, and of course the AI that they're offering in there as well. There's so much good stuff coming up on PulseChain. I'm so excited. Hopefully we get Signum and Tetra soon. I think it's going to open up a whole new world of possibilities and opportunities on PulseChain. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, it's time for me to finish. We're almost at the exact 2-hour mark. I'm just trying to find my comment that I posted here. Mr. Onazuka in the house. There he goes, right there. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy the show. I'm going to leave you some alpha on the way out. Because it's how we like to do with the market cycles here, from Raoul Paul, the billionaire that unfortunately had 70% of his bags on Chain. And let's check him out on the way out. Peace out. Enjoy you guys' day. And I'll see you either in Strategy Club in about an hour, or see you on the live stream tomorrow as usual. And of course, if you want to get on the Monster Thread, get out there, hit me up, or MBS Crypt. It's going to be a lot of fun. Things are just ramping up on PulseChain. It's going to be absolutely huge. And I see monster huge, as we say. All right, bye for now. Yeah, I'm back here. I guess I just can't leave. What is this? I'm crazy. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Not a mystery. It is a repeat of the debt cycle. They are rolling the debts. They are doing the same thing. Each cycle is not to do with a halving cycle, nothing to do with any of that. It's all driven by liquidity cycle and funding of debts. Each phase, we get phase 1 of the banana zone, banana number 1. The corrective zone, banana number 2 comes. Another correction, banana number 3. So this is the banana zone. So that's what happened in 2020. 2021, off we go. Sorry, that was 2017, which again looks very similar to this one. That was the last one. Here we are now. It can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything here suggests to me that hold on to your hats, don't fuck this up, don't lose control of your tokens, don't use leverage, don't get your wallet hacked, just sit with it, be careful, don't get FOMO, do all of the right things, and we'll go up to the next phase of correction zone. That's going to be harder, because the next one that happens, we'll have a 35% drop, and you'll all say, is it over? And you'll definitely be sure it's over, and everybody on Twitter will tell you it's over, and it won't be over. By our work, we suggest that because of the elongation of the business cycle, because rates were higher for longer, the forward-looking liquidity suggests that, again, probabilistically speaking, without any guarantees, this whole thing goes into Q1, maybe Q2 of 2026, which would align with Trump's, trying to win the midterms as well. So everything's lined up for us. I think it started. So keep the faith, keep building stuff, and let's keep driving Siri forward with all of this. Thank you.